Hey, my name is Steve and I'm not a luthier, but I built this guitar with a pretty modest set of tools. If I can do this, anyone can. Welcome to part 3. Today I'm going to show you how I blackened that grain to get the contrast against the red. Alright, now that I've sanded that, I'm using some mineral spirits to remove the dust from sanding to prepare the surface for the next step, which is going to be filling the pores and grain. You know, I did sand a little too much around this edge. I don't know if you can see that, but it just lightened a little bit along that edge. It's really difficult to not do that around the edges, but the pore filler will hopefully blend that in a little bit. Alright, I have sanded the seal coat down. I've actually gone back with the stain and filled in some of these spots that were lightened a little bit. I just don't want to lose any red, and I'm getting ready for the next step of the process, which is a little bit scary to me because I'm now putting black pore filler, pore and grain filler onto the surface. The seal coat should keep that from penetrating the red but allow it into the grain, which is just going to increase the contrast of the black against the red in the grain, and it's also going to give it a very smooth, glassy finish when all is said and done. So this is kind of a big step. This is the only part of this process that I've never done before. So it's a little bit scary for me. I've got a wood filler here that I have purchased from Woodcraft. It is it's ebony. It's tinted with ebony. And then I've mixed it with water. And I've been mixing it up. It's still got a little bit of chunk to it, but it should be thin enough to get into the pores at this point. So here we go. I'm getting ready to try something I've never done before. I've been told to rub this in sort of against the grain. Everything else we've been doing with the grain. This is the first process that we're kind of doing against the grain, and we're just going to massage it in. Theoretically, so it goes into the pores and into the deep grain of the wood. And if I've done the sealing right, it will just go into the grain and not change the color of the stain. This makes me very nervous because this is so ugly to put on. And if it doesn't come off the way I'd like it to, I've got a really ugly guitar. So yeah, I'm really nervous at this point. I've just put a lot of black stuff all over this guitar that had a really nice red color to it. And I'll be scraping it off when it dries. Okay, disregard what I just said. You do not want to wait until the pore filler dries before scraping it off. You want to scrape it off while it's still wet. It's a really big hassle to try and scrape it off after it's dried. It requires a lot of additional sanding. A lot of additional sanding. Okay, so I have sanded off the pore filler with both 400 and then a 600 grit sandpaper. I think I was supposed to scrape that off before it dried, but I wound up sanding it all off. That's a lesson learned. But it's darkened the grain. My only concern is that, like, the edges where you sand, you know, you sand more at the edges, so it's lightened some of those edges. I'm gonna try to reapply the stain in those places because I do like that rich red color. I don't like the way that looks. If it doesn't, because of the sealant, it is what it is. It's a lesson learned. Hopefully it'll take the stain. I love the way that green looks right there, though. That's the look that I really wanted. You know, that contrast between the bright red and the black. There's a few little scratches that show up because of the pore filler. I can deal with that. Most of them are on the back. The front looks pretty good, though. All right, I have just wiped the guitar clean with mineral spirits and just to remove all the dust. And I'm now doing something that makes me really, really nervous. I'm adding another coat of the red dye stain to try and even out some of the places where around the edges where I've sanded deeper. And it makes me nervous because this is not in the instructions that I found. I've applied a sealant, so it may not take the stain, but I'm giving it a try. So here we go. Part of what it seems to be doing is pulling out some of the pore filler, which I'm not crazy about. Find Corazon Part 4 to see the lacquer process. And remember to like and subscribe if you find this information helpful. Thanks for watching.